Thank you, Mike. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining. I'm going to be talking about something very different than you would imagine, which is really how COVID has impacted our life, our work, our learning, and so on. How is 5G helping with that? So, to start with, let's look at what is happening with the 5G infrastructure services. Starting in 2018, 5G deployment started happening. 2019, we got to about 50 or so deployments. But 2020, because of COVID, that somewhat momentum did not slow down like in other areas where COVID impacted negatively. In the case of 5G, infrastructure spending and commercial services coming live on, it actually increased more than doubled from 2019. And we are on track to actually do more of those by the end of this year. And if you look at across the globe, you'll see that Western Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and developed Asia Pacific region really led in terms of number of commercial services offered. In some countries like South Africa and Sweden, the operators, in fact, decided to pull it ahead of schedule and launch the 5G services. China, for example, prioritized for its operators to start offering 5G services. So all of that has really accelerated how 5G infrastructure and services are being offered. On the right-hand side on the chart, you can see the number of global connections increasing quarter over quarter. And it's a pretty steep hockey stick-like increase in terms of number of global connections. So in all, I think you can say that despite COVID, 5G infrastructure services have really increased and commercial offerings are available for both consumers and enterprises. That begs the question, what does it do in terms of use of 5G networks? What are the use cases which are related to COVID that are getting positive impact from 5G infrastructure and services? So if you look at use cases, let's start with public safety networks. Traditionally, public safety networks used narrowband communication systems, which offered voice and some limited data services. And also because different agencies use different spectrum, they did not have any interoperability. So inter-agency coordination was hard. What does 5G do? 5G brought a standard communication technology for public safety networks. It also opened up new flexible deployment solutions and innovative services. For example, it allows now public safety network operators as well as first responders to get access to high quality images and videos being transmitted real time through 5G network. That improves coverage, accessibility, resiliency, and the security of the networks. And that improves finally the operational and situational awareness for the first responders. Another example of such a use of 5G networks is healthcare. We saw that because of COVID, people could not travel to clinics and hospitals. Remote areas started using telemedicine. Conventionally, telemedicine relied on wired connection. But now with 5G deployments coming, telemedicine can really accelerate in terms of getting access to remote hospitals and clinics. For example, using the 5G's large capacity, high bandwidth, low latency networks, patients can transmit X-ray images, high-quality videos to the trauma places or hospitals and clinics for real-time diagnosis. Recently, Vitas, which is a leader in providing hospice care to terminally ill patients, is now collaborating with AT&T, one of the largest operators, to see how they could use augmented reality, virtual reality, and spatial computing to deliver much better patient engagement. So using 5G, you can now deliver content which is based on augmented reality and virtual reality so that the patients who are in pain, terminally ill, can get both calming and distracting content in terms of better patient management. Another example of such a revolution in remote healthcare is UK's Connected Ambulance Project. When a patient is to be transported by paramedics using ambulance to a remote hospital or from a remote location to hospital, the connected ambulance allows them to have direct connection using 5G network, high capacity network, high bandwidth network, which can start transmitting the X-rays and other patient information to a trauma physician or surgeon who can start triaging the patient even before the patient arrives at the hospital. That leads to really improved healthcare. Now, if you go further and look at what has happened to learning, you saw that the education all went virtual last year. Students started learning in schools as well as colleges remotely. And that leads to some interesting challenges. If you are using video conference to teach students, especially young children, they can easily get distracted. And it's hard for a teacher to keep track of every window where multiple windows are projecting what each student is doing. What 5G does with expanded 5G deployments, which brings high bandwidth, high capacity, low latency networks, you can enhance the classroom experience by integrating augmented reality or virtual reality to deliver an immersive experience. So imagine a teacher now walking a student through actual stages of a space shuttle launch, or letting the students fly through a human circulatory system to learn the function of heart, lungs, and blood circulation. That completely changes how students will be taught, but more importantly, how they're engaged and can keep the remote learning experience going. And I think this sort of content and experience is only available because of the deployment of both 5G networks and content being moved to the cloud. From there, it can be delivered to any part of the network. Now, the rise of 5G also transforming how people do exercise, right? You saw that people started moving to virtual exercising away from the gyms. They started using Peloton-like exercise tools. They started challenging each other virtually to compete in terms of how they exercise or practice fitness. That is also available because now by putting the content in the cloud and by streaming it using 5G networks, you can change how remote fitness works. Cloud gaming, that's another example. The cloud gaming was already in progress, but what COVID did is that it increased. Lack of entertainment means people started using more cloud gaming. And cloud gaming basically requires high capacity networks, low latency networks, and 5G infrastructure enables that. So another example of COVID impact was people could not go shopping. Now, if you want to try out a beauty product or you want to try out some dress, you can have an immersive experience delivered through 5G networks so that you can virtually try it out before making a decision to buy or not. So those are the examples of use cases which are enabled in post-COVID by the 5G infrastructure and services. Now, if you switch to how we work, all of us started working remotely last year. According to The Economist, before the pandemic, Americans spent 5% of their working time at home. By spring 2020 last year, it was 60%. That completely changed how we perceive work. Enterprises started looking at introducing virtual first approach to remote working rather than physical. And virtual first experience of working has certain characteristics. It's completely distributed across home offices, satellite offices, or even on-campus offices. People are choosing to work remotely, but continue to use video conferencing for meetings, but also collaborate online using in the cloud content. So when you have that kind of interaction happening, where the content is delivered from the cloud for remote collaboration, you start integrating virtual workspaces with Zoom-like teleconferencing tools. You start providing collaboration tools by integrating real-time collaboration using online cloud-based content. This also leads to different way of thinking about work, how people think about collaboration, how they think about working together. People start prioritizing trust and belonging, and virtual experiences can deliver that by creating some level of interpersonal bonds with intent and care. Lastly, I think just like this event where I'm virtually presenting to you and many of you are virtually attending the events, many events went virtual last year. That could be trade shows, trade exhibits, sales conferences, job fairs, and so on, right? The global virtual event market size was valued at about 77 billion in 2019. Last year, it went to almost $100 billion and is expected to grow at a CAGR of more than 20% over the next few years. So digital platforms, which are being used for these virtual events, really enable individuals to participate in any event, irrespective of their location. People are beginning to use many web-based platforms to connect participants from various parts of the world to attend events. You combine that with virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. You can really start bringing online communication and collaborative activities together to deliver virtual events. And this is the more and more a trend that's, I don't think it's going to go away. People are going to maybe travel less, but have businesses will start deploying digitally simulated platforms to manage and source resources effectively to deliver virtual events. So the communication segment now amounts for about 35% of the market share, and that's likely to continue to grow. That's another impact of COVID, but enabled by the 5G infrastructure and services by providing large capacity, large bandwidth networks. What does it say in terms of impact on the technology? So just to summarize, what we saw so far is that we have COVID affected how we do public safety, first responders work, remote learning, remote working, remote events, and all that stuff we talked about. All of that requires moving content to the cloud and delivering content from the cloud in a distributed fashion to many parts of the network. That could be private cloud, public cloud, or hybrid cloud. And all of these use cases are enabled by cloudification and the content being streamed by 5G networks to the different parts of the network. The second part is what this slide calls big O. The big O here stands for openness and open ecosystems. One thing we learned in COVID is rapid innovation to address new use cases is important. Rapid innovation requires multiple people contributing to the innovation and collaborating through the open ecosystem. So for example, I talked about virtual events where you are combining virtual workspaces with video conferencing, with other like augmented reality, virtual reality. All that requires different parts of the ecosystem providing tools, infrastructure, applications that are interoperable to open interfaces so they can be integrated quickly to deliver an experience. So what COVID has done to us is that we are beginning to see huge ecosystem of vendors, operators, cloud providers working together using open interfaces to deliver such services. Finally, the rise of automation. We saw that you can no longer go to the office or to the lab to solve every problem. People started working remotely debugging, remotely diagnosing. That leads to more need for automation. Automation was always the focus. People have been talking about automation in terms of automating different parts of the life cycle management of infrastructure, day 0, day 1, day 2. But pandemic, what it did, it really shed light for automating faster, smarter, and better. At Juniper, for example, our focus is on experience-first networking. It's not sufficient to deliver high-performance, highly reliable products. We are also focusing on delivering much better experience to our customers, which are telcos and operators, and their customers. And how do we do that? By using AI, ML-based, cloud-based technologies for cloud-managed operations, where a telemetry from the devices can be delivered to the cloud, fed into ML AI engine, and that starts self-diagnosing, self-healing, self-remediating problems without requiring manual intervention. The operators are also beginning to focus more on end-to-end automation, and we are here to help them to deliver very seamless customer experience without any breakages or manual intervention. When the pandemic struck, the global lockdown led to really empty streets. At the same time, as we talked about everything going virtual, requiring content to be distributed from cloud to multiple places, the digital highways became congested. They became very busy. And also for many enterprises, that became the lifeline to survive. And now this is going to continue. We are not going back to the world which was there. So 5G alone is having a big impact here and also creating a huge demand. 5G will have 1.8 billion connections by the end of 2025. The IoT connection that were already rising because of sensors, home automation systems and all, they're even rising faster because of 5G use cases. And you will expect to see increasing IoT connections from 13 billion in 2020 to almost double of that to 24 billion by 2025. That means there's going to be a lot of pressure on telecom networks, telcos and service providers to start building their cloud native networks to accommodate this. And this has really led to what I call digital first, virtual first economy. that we are all focusing on. Now, looking further forward, what does it mean for 5G itself? So we talked about open ecosystems, collaboration, and integration of services, tools from different vendors. 5G itself has something that telcos created a few years back called Open Radio Access Network Alliance, which is a way to disaggregate traditionally vertically integrated networks into a network of components such as radios, distribution unit, central unit, RAN intelligence controller coming from different vendors and being able to integrate those using open interfaces. That will foster innovation, many sources of competition, and also ultimately much better resilient networks, because open interfaces are also subject to a lot more scrutiny when it comes to security and so on. Another trend that is happening is private 5G networks. Wi-Fi is ubiquitous in enterprise networks. That has done a great job. But now new use cases because of automation that 5G is enabling in post-COVID, such as smart factories, smart ports, smart logistics, those require private 5G networks which provide guaranteed bandwidth and isolation of one kind of traffic from another. Private 5G based on CBRS spectrum being made free by governments or being made very inexpensive in countries like Germany is allowing people to think of building private 5G networks focused on these use cases that will use slices. Using slices, you can isolate one type of traffic from another, so you can provide the necessary guarantees that you can provide. So there's two things that are the big next trends for 5G that you will see happening this year and next. Finally, to close, I want to take you back to where we started. That we said that COVID impacted how we work, how we learn, how we interact, how we do events, and so on. 5G enables that through collaboration and ecosystems to develop services that can easily be integrated together. And that's going to continue to have more innovation and more impact on the world. This will also bring people together, unconnected people connected to connected people, remote care, remote health care, online communities that we talked about for virtual first interaction of workplace. This will start bringing people together virtually and in a many ways, irrespective of the distance. Finally, technology is also trying to go green. One of the things is that we saw the highways going less busy because people are doing things more virtually. That has a direct impact on reducing carbon footprint. But more importantly, the companies like Juniper are also focusing on going carbon neutral first. We have set a very aggressive target, going green, to go carbon neutral. And our customers are also doing that. And that is another thing that will be enabled as we go through this post-COVID moment. Thank you for listening. Thanks.